Welcome to the Federal webinar. I am Aprameya C. Today we are here to discuss a very important topic, sports or academics, a question that continues to haunt talented youngsters. In India, with a population of more than 1.4 billion, there is no dearth of sporting talent. However, thousands of youngsters are in a dilemma when it comes to choosing sports or academics. In most cases, they take the safer option of concentrating on academics from the point of view of job security. This may have resulted in many youngsters giving up on sports when they could have gone ahead and done the country proud and themselves. But those stories are never captured. Despite all the rhetoric on encouraging sports, the sad fact appears to be the insecurity of parents and inability of the state to assure a comfortable future for youngsters wanting to concentrate on sports at a professional level without having to bother about studies. While cricket is a religion in India and there are crores of rupees and lucrative deals coming the way of the nation's top players, even in this sport, we have seen many of the youngsters giving up the sport just to concentrate on academics due to lack of maybe pressure of parents or fear of being failing in the sport. The current generation of cricketers are blessed with IPL riches and handsome paychecks. However, the same cannot be said for other sports persons in the country. Many sports are still struggling to find sponsors and depend on government funds. This could be one of the reasons for parents insisting on academics more than sports. Also, it is important to note that India is not a sporting nation and there's no sports culture in our country. However, it is slowly changing in recent times. The country has made rapid strides in various fields, but not in sports, with exception of cricket. Even today, the nation craves for sports success stories in a multidiscipline event like the Olympics. If you look back at Olympics history, last year. India finished with its best ever tally, but it was only 7 medals at the Tokyo Olympics. In over 100 years of Olympics participation, India's total medal count stands at only 35. That is 10 golds with 8 from hockey alone and 9 silver and 16 bronze across 25 editions since 1900. So, coming to today's topic, sports or academics, a question that continues to haunt talented youngsters. We have assembled a fine panel. First of all, I would like to thank you all for agreeing to be a part of this webinar. We have 4 panelists. I will introduce them one by one. Thanks everyone for joining. First, let me start off with the youngest of the panel. This is Tanisha Sagar Boramanikar, who is the under-16 girls national champion. She is joining us from Maldives, where she is currently playing a tournament. Welcome, Tanisha. Thanks for joining the Federal webinar.
Hello. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to interact with all these eminent personalities. I truly feel honored to be a part of this discussion.
Thanks, Tanisha. Next, we have Mr. Irfan Seth, who is the head coach and director of Karnataka Institute of Cricket in Bangalore. Welcome, Irfan.
Thank you, Pramaya. Thank you very much for this opportunity. But at the outset, I would like to say, why should it be sports or education? Why cannot be sports and education? I think
we'll get deeper into the subject as we progress. Irfan, thanks. And next on the panel is Mr. K. Srinath, who is a BCCI umpire and a former first-class cricketer. He played for Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. He also joins us like Irfan from Bangalore. Welcome, Srinath.
Thanks, Aprameya. Thanks for having me on the show. Looking forward to a wonderful discussion over the next period of time.
Thanks. And we are expecting one more guest, Ms. C. Lata, Secretary of the Tamil Nadu Athletics Association. She'll be joining us soon. Okay, let me tell you the format of the webinar. First, we'll ask all our guests to make their opening remarks, okay, for a few minutes, so maybe 4 to 5 minutes. So let me start off by requesting Tanisha to make her opening comments on this subject. Tanisha, over to you, Tanisha.
Good evening, everyone. As for my point of view, I think this question should not arise because firstly, education has to be the priority along with whatever extracurricular activities we choose, like sports. So, as for the topic we have today, education or sports, I feel both are equally important, and when managed properly, they can go well hand in hand. Uh, it is all very important. uh, Education is very important for our personality development across along with the option it keeps open for ahead in our career. I've seen my competitors never going to school and missing their childhood just to play chess, but everyone cannot be a Vishwanathan Anand, and they are struggling even with their chess now. It has become a trend to leave school these days, but if we look back a few decades ago, world chess champions like Immanuel Lasker was a philosopher and a mathematician. Max Euwe was a mathematician. So, uh, sports are also an integral part of our life. They instill confidence, strength, team spirit, leadership qualities, the bouncing back abilities. Like my chess has given me patience. It has given me logical reasoning, calculation abilities, uh, to name a few. And even though I don't give as much time to academics comparatively to other people, through these qualities, I was able to excel in both the spheres. So therefore, sports cannot be a hurdle to manage with studies. It will definitely give you better result with proper management. Thank you.
Thanks. Nicely said, Tanisha. We'll get back to you later. Next, Irfan. Irfan, your opening comments, please.
Yeah. Like I said at the beginning, this topic could be sports and education instead of sports or education, because I feel, yes, we have some glorious examples where, some fantastic cricketers have shown us that both can be managed very well. I would like to mention the names of the greats, Anil Kumble, Javagal Srinath, Rahul Dravid. They're all highly, highly educated. And we have seen over the years that all college teams, which have some fantastic cricketers, they are also good students. So it is a little trick that they have to manage, balancing, the sport and education. We had the great example of recent example of Devdutt Padikkal. He hardly went to the attended classes while he was in the 10th. The board exams are always a big hype among parents, and everybody says, oh, he's doing his boards this year, so it's going to be very tough. So many of them take their time off cricket sport that they're playing just to be able to get some good marks in the board exams. But Devdutt Padikkal hardly went to school, but wherever he went, whether he was on tour with Karnataka or whatever, he carried his books. He tried and followed what is going on in class through his uh, peers and his friends. He managed everything, and he ended up with 95.3, whereas those who just studied got much less than him. So there are some glorious examples of how you can balance it. It's about coaches, the teachers, the parents, everybody showing a pathway to the children how they can manage both. It's only this that we need to keep away the other distractions. More than the sport today, you can see, the internet or the mobile phones are a greater distraction than anything else. Now, why blame the sport? Sport is a healthy activity, it is a productive activity, it is something which can actually give them a launching pad for themselves and make a good career out of it. Whereas, what does the youngsters who are using the mobile phones and whiling away their time on the internet, being on the social media, they are big losers. I mean, they may be gathering a lot of information, but but it's not building the career as such. So in cricket today, cricket is in such a good position today that it's not only being a player, you could be involved in so many different ways, like my good friend Srinath. So you could be an umpire, you could be, you could be involved or employed in cricket so many different ways. You could be a commentator, you could be an event manager, you could be a coach. I chose to be a coach. So there are great opportunities for anybody who's involved in sport with, of course, the educational background. if someone is dedicated, he's in a better position to understand, analyze, adapt, and then make this sport very, very productive, very, very professionally. So the sport, for one, of course, cricket is blessed. But even other sports, I'm sure, will offer many, many opportunities for those who are keen, who love the sport, who want to be involved in the sport, can find fantastic opportunities of making a career through sport itself. Somehow, maybe it's more Indian. The Indian culture is this, that yes, we must have a degree. Parents are very keen on their children being, educated. I know of stories where, someone is an India cricketer, but the parent says you don't have a degree. So these are the things. The degree is kind of a status symbol in our culture, but it has to go, and we have to understand that even sport is a way of occupation, a profession by itself, and it can give you fantastic opportunities to make a great life. So I hope this percolates down, people understand, accept, and of course we always say at KIOC in my academy, we always try and educate parents as well as the students. We need to have a good balance. We cannot ignore one for the other. That is why I say sport and education. We need to try and balance it, just like Anil Kumble, Jawahar Srinath, Devdutt Padikkal, Rahul Dravid, all of them have done and have set great examples. You have so many others as well. Ravichandran Ashwin is an engineer. K. Srikanth was an engineer. So many of them are highly educated. E.S. Prasanna, the kind of cricket he played. And yes, he was an engineer. And they are all highly educated. S. Venkatraghavan. All of them, are very, very respectable citizens. So I think sport and education can go hand in hand. And we just need coaches, parents, and teachers to work together and try and show the pathway to the young ones to be able to adapt to both.
Thanks, Irfan. Srinath, look forward to your comments, opening remarks, please.
Good evening, all. Very interesting comments, and I would first take this opportunity to really congratulate Tanisha. For a young girl of that age, she's thought that what sport and education can do together. So I would like to start off by saying that this is a very old saying, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So to me, I always found that sport and academics would always go hand in glove. It wasn't a case of running parallelly. So you are good at sport, you obviously will be good at studies. Vice versa, somebody who's got a smart brain can always work towards becoming a good sportsman. So end of the day, both going together would certainly make a person a rounded personality. Listening to both of them, I think I played the game, I got into coaching. Now I'm a professional umpire on the BCCI circuit for the last 15 years. Where I have found a problem with most of the parents is they always try to relive their dreams in the eyes of their children. If I can say in terms of academics, for example, if I couldn't become an engineer or a doctor, I shouldn't be having the mentality of trying to push my kith or kin in trying to becoming a doctor or an engineer. The same way, I was a cricketer, I played this sport. I played up to a reasonably good level, state cricket, and then for the zone. I couldn't play for the country. So I shouldn't be trying to push my son or daughter saying that you should be playing for the country. That's not the way it is looked at. The perception of parents to trying to see what they couldn't achieve to be done by their children is really knocking them off. Yes, certainly I can relate my own case. Maybe I started off in the early 80s. Fortunately, I had such wonderful parents who said that, as Irfan was mentioning about the social stigma of, in our country saying you have to be a graduate. Yes, of course. That was always a pressure that was there in my family also, which said that do whatever you want to, but ensure you have a graduation to go by. So tomorrow you play junior cricket or for the state, whatever. Those were the days wherein the banks and government jobs were what were white collar jobs. They were aplenty till maybe mid-90s or early 2000s. There were a lot of opportunity, especially for cricketers, to get jobs in these organizations. But they never said that, you have to pursue a career in engineering or medicine, whatever. And to be honest, I didn't come from a family which was very affluent as far as sport went. I had an uncle who played sport, who played for the state schools. I wouldn't say it ran in the blood also, but somehow I took up to cricket. And from a very young age, I thought if I did make something out of my career, it would be only through sport. And to be honest, I had wonderful family support. They said that tread the path you want to, but ensure you make a career out of what you're up to. So I don't know how many of them in the modern day world would embrace that scenario and say, this is what I want my child to do. The key here is, yes, of course, modern day, it's all about numbers. It's a rat race. It could be sport. It could be academics. Somebody is 9.9 out of 10. The other is 9.95. So it all boils down to these percentile numbers that end of the day get you crashing into the gate. So there are not many cases wherein you see people get into IITs or IIMs who played sport. But you have n number of examples already. Irfan has come up with names, especially in cricket as such, who done wonderfully well in academics and gone on to represent the country and done exceedingly well. So it's not about the era in which you played. I think over a period of time, technology has evolved. Today, there is an online facility wherein you can travel, you can read your notes online, you can focus on what you're doing in sport also. Especially, I can throw some light maybe on chess. If you're practicing 8 or 10 hours a day, you have an off time of 2 or 3 hours, you still can manage to get in some study time. So I think that advantage is there today. Whereas 30 years back, we had to carry books with us. We didn't know what was happening in school or colleges. There were no mobile phones to contact people. It used to be landlines where we had to book trunk calls to speak to people and try and find out what was happening. But I felt the institutions those days were more accommodative. They encouraged kids to take up sport. They gave the leverage saying that, yes, fair enough. We are not putting pressure on you as far as attendance goes. We'll help you out with extra classes. We had good lecturers and teachers who could come up and say, even on Saturdays and Sundays, we can provide you those man-hours for you if you're willing to come and learn from us. So I think over a period of time, things have changed drastically. We've had a lot of educational institutions that have come up and many international schools. But unfortunately, most of them have not found a way out to balance academics and sport. Either one, they go in one direction of only academics as such. The other way is only sport. So it just cannot be a concept of my way or the highway. There has to be a balance. Equal amount of importance has to be provided for basic education and also to sport. When both are balanced together, I find no reason to say or which stops you saying that you can excel both in academics as well as in sport also. This is my opening comment and that's my take on this.
Thanks, Srinath. Moving on, I'll just I have to tell you that Tanisha has balanced both education as well as chess very well. She has scored 98.2 in her class 10 board exams. She's a set a fine example. So let me ask Tanisha, how did you manage? And you also mentioned in an interview with us, the Federal, that your parents have always encouraged you to take up chess. So could you elaborate on that, how you manage both studies and chess?
Yeah. So when I started playing, I saw that, as I mentioned earlier, all my competitors, they never went to school and they gave up on their studies. But initially, my parents made that decision to not sacrifice my childhood. So as a kid, I was when I was at home, I used to go to school regularly. I used to complete my homework in the school itself, and when I used to come back, I used to practice chess. And when before important tournaments, I used to take 1 or 2 month break, and then I used to study before the exams. So I think it is important to at times it is important to prioritize what is important to do at that time. So before tournaments, your complete focus should be on that tournament, and before exams you should forget about your sport, or you should completely be focused on sports. So that I think that worked well for me. I used to manage both well. I think time management is very important, and when you really want to do something, when you really I really wanted to continue my studies from the very beginning. So I used to, and I also wanted to play chess. So I used to find time to balance both well. So it was never a struggle for me to find time to do something.
More importantly, the encouragement from the parents is very important, isn't it? They play a big part.
Yeah, definitely.
Going back to Irfan, you mentioned that It has to be both sports and academics. I agree. But in a country like India, like where we live, it's always like you must have interacted with thousands of parents over the course of more than 2 decades of your coaching experience in the academy. You must have noticed that most of the parents are apprehensive because if you fail, if my son or daughter fails in cricket, what next? If they don't do well in academics, what is there to fall back on? That was my question actually, because I do understand that both are important, but what do you tell the parents that who are apprehensive, like will they get the job security, or will they be financially strong in future? What will their son or daughter do in future?
Yeah, that's a good point that you raised. We have experienced this quite a lot. As a matter of fact, sometimes I'm amazed, I'm awestruck when some parents say, "Oh, my child is going to the sixth standard," as if the sixth standard is so big or so difficult. I sometimes I don't know whether to laugh or take that with a pinch of salt. Now, it's I don't know the mindsets of the parents at times, but fortunately, I think it's all changing. And you can see on this panel, all of us are of the same thought that sport and education can be balanced. Likewise, the parental mindset is also slowly but certainly changing. Today, I see parents bringing children to the academy. That's a big change. That's a big change. They want the child to be involved in the sport. There is a child right now. I have a child by name Mayank who's come from the US. His parent, his father, he says, I don't want him to be doing one-on-one coaching. I want him to be mixing with the other children and playing just like the normal child. I want him to be socializing. So mindsets are growing. People are getting better educated. You see, there's a huge difference between education and schooling. Schooling is just schooling, but educating is educating the ways of life, ways of growing, ways of it's actual learning. So people have started understanding that, and you can see today schools are advertising sport. They're saying we've got for sporting facility. That is a clear indicator that the signposts are changing. So things are changing drastically, and hopefully for the better, because I think sport gives a healthy way of life. So people have started understanding. When people, some of the parents, of course, even now, it's not that everybody has taken it up very well. There are parents who will say that, oh, he's got the 10th standard, he's got the board exam, the second piece is very important, and so on and so forth. Then we have, the others. We have a mixed bag, you must say, that there are parents who are very keen on the child becoming a sports person. So they say, okay, we have a tutor at home, we'll do this. Financially, I think, the world is getting a little comfortable with the incomes that they're having. They're able to spend a little bit on not only on sport, but on private tuitions and whatnot. With this electronic education, I think this is a big boon. Now, in my recent visit to the US, I saw there are lots of kids who are not going to school. Although the schools have opened, they have started enjoying and preferring uh, studying from home. So that gives them a lot of time to focus on both on their education and sport. And plus, they have the happiness and the joy of saving time from travel and then enjoying some family life as well. To cut a long story short, yes, there are parents who are very apprehensive, parents who think that a government job is the be all and end all. But I think, slowly but steadily, with the advent of the television, where they see so much happening on TV and so much of sport happening on television, I think parents are getting educated. They're starting to realize that there's much more than just playing. There's so much more. You could be something else in the sport as well. You could be an administrator. You could be organizer. You could be commentator. You could be a journalist like you. So much you could write about sport and make a career out of it. But to be able to do that, not only you have to have the education, you have to have played or been involved in sport to be able to get all these benefits. End of the day, earlier it was just, it was either medicine or engineering. But today, the whole world has opened up. The software industry has shown that, yes, there's much more than just, being a doctor or an engineer. So the world is changing, and I think it is going to be a happier place, both for sportsmen as well as academicians. Now, those who are, let's say, the engineers, they are trying to pick up sport and they are trying to do, so much of software to assist the sportsmen. They're developing so much. They're developing so much of software and apps and all that could be useful, to the sportsman to develop his sport and at the same time be able to stay in touch with the academy. I think these are all the good signs. To answer your question, yes, when the parents say that, we try and sit them, we counsel them, we tell them that yes, you can balance sport and education. At the same time, we also convince them that there's life beyond the degrees or just that certificate, that piece of paper which is a certificate which says you're a graduate. There's learning which is involved, and I think that is more important.
Nicely put, Irfan. Srinath, do you agree that we know that things have changed? Maybe you made your first class debut in the early 90s. What do you see? Like how are things changed from then and now? Almost 30 years since you made your debut, nearly 30 years.
First thing is, what was in the early 90s for us? It was more of a dream and passion we lived. Enjoyment was the key, not much of money. Today, the remuneration, security in terms of finance has grown multifold. Especially, I'm talking per se in terms of cricket. IPL has gotten that much of financial security for players that you just can sit back after a couple of seasons and say that, that I've achieved financially whatever I have to. It's just about what I need to as a sports person. That's number one. I think that's basically because of the structure that percolates from the top. In any organization, if you talk about a school, what sort of an example the principal sets, the discipline he or she has percolates down to the teaching and non-teaching staff. It's the same in sport also. The association or the federation at the national level, if they are doing well, there's structure in that. The same sort of discipline and structure will percolate down the line in the respective state associations. That's exactly what has gone through with BCCI over a period of, say, about 2.5 decades. We've had some very able administrators who've come in. They've gotten a structure where cricket was covered in all age categories. Briefly, I can talk about structures. It starts right from 16. We have 19. We have 25, which is called the state juniors or the A setup. Then we have the first class cricket of Ranji Trophy. So this is such a wonderful pyramid and a platform. Once you get in early and you know you're a part of this matrix, you just make the transition pretty smoothly. Well, answering the question of parents being apprehensive, I've always found people who are on a cat on a wall situation at two junctures in life. One is once when they finish class 9 and get into 10, and once they finish class 11 and get into 12. I think with whatever facility that is available today to grasp and try to find out what you want to become professionally, I don't think a kid at the age of 14 or 16 is mature enough to take a decision about be it sport or academics. They have a sort of a vague picture in their mind saying, I want to be an engineer, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a chartered accountant. But within the next few months, you can see a change in the tide. They obviously, will be focused towards something else, saying that I'm doing well in sport. Why don't I look at a basic, bachelor in arts degree and try and pursue my sports? So for this to happen, well, the support of parents is extremely important. Understanding of sport is the most important thing. I would like to reiterate the opening comment which you made, talking about India is not a sporting nation. Of course, we are in a very nascent stage. The only culture that is there in one sport is cricket, not demeaning any other sport. A game like chess, I'm fascinated by the way most of these kids who are doing modern day, and a fantastic story, and it should be a benchmark. I mean, Tanisha, the way she's managed her studies to get 98 plus in the 10 standard boards and managing to be a top flight chess champion at the age of 16. Of course, she made a very candid comment saying that everybody cannot be a Vishwanathan Anand. I'm really thrilled to see somebody like a Pragnananda beating somebody the likes of Magnus Carlsen twice in a period of 1 month. So the key is we need to have sporting icons. So Vishy Anand is one of the sporting icons as far as chess is concerned. Now we've got somebody like a PV Sindhu, a Saina Nehwal. India won the Thomas Cup after maybe a 73-year period. You spoke about 35 medals over 25 Olympics over 100-year period. So where are the icons these sporting events have produced? Hockey is proclaimed to be a national sport. I'm not still sure whether it is a part of textbook, but we all grew up, embracing hockey because India was a wonderful hockey playing nation. But why cricket? Why people started embracing the sport? It was 83 World Cup, which Kapil Dev's Devils, they call, made a turnaround, and people start up to realize that this is a sport which people have to take up to. So again, when we talk about cricket being a religion here, it's about the visibility. Every second day you see a match being telecast on television, and cricket is a spectator sport. We have great champions in chess, billiards, snooker, golf is picking up in India. These are all unfortunately not spectator sport wherein people can sit hours across to see a move of chess being made. So how is it going to be marketed is a big question mark. So as I said, the two lines, class 10 and class 12, how do you get there? People talk about, they come to coaches, Irfan is in a better position. They might ask you, how good is my son? Will he play for the state? Will he go on to play for the country? The widely used word is talent. Everybody here is talented. Everybody in India is talented in one or another way. How you make use of the talent and translate that into performance is the big question mark. So the mystery behind this is dedication, commitment, and sort of perfect practice we call. It's just not, man hours. I say I practice 10 hours in a day. Is there a purpose to your practice? If somebody is just going to make wrong moves for 10 hours in a day, I don't think he or she can become a good chess player. She would certainly agree with me. Maybe quality 2 or 3 hours, you have a plan. Say, for example, this is the sort of weak link I'm finding in my game, and I'm trying to work on that qualitatively for 2-3 hours. That would certainly help you. Or being cricket, I can say, I'm finding it difficult to negotiate the swinging ball. I'm practicing that for about an hour. There is purpose to what I practice to. So this trying to tell people that, you've got abundant talent. For an example, I can say Vinod Kambli. I can give you a classic example. Everybody in the cricketing fraternity knows how talented he was. But why couldn't he translate that into performance and sustain for such a long time? Like what his own schoolmate Tendulkar was able to do. So it's just about the single-minded devotion of when you have a book in front of you to study, you're just focusing on that. When you're off that book, you're off on the play field or on the board, you're just focusing on what is there in front of you. So these two have to be kept apart when you're doing those two rituals. But yes, times have changed. What was there 30 years ago is certainly advanced. Yes, jobs have become lesser. I can only talk in terms of cricket. Not many cricketers today are interested in taking up government jobs. The corporate world, once upon a time, I'm talking about the Fortune 500 oil companies which were recruiting people like the ONGC, the Bharat Petroleum, the IOC. They had big time recruitments, which they have also come down on a large scale. I think people become self-sufficient when they play, say, 6 or 7 years of good top flight first class cricket. IPL is giving them their financial security. There is leverage for them. And then when you get to that level, you start thinking of options as to what next. It's not a 9-to-5 desk job. I'm nearing 60. What do I do after 60? You're approaching a period wherein you know that, what do I do next after my career is over? There is coaching. You become an analyst. You become a graphic analyzer. You become a commentator. You become a coach. You become a statistician. You become a blog writer. You become a journalist. You do podcasts. There are n number of things. The horizon is so vast that you will certainly have a lot on the table. It's going to be like a buffet. You just have to ensure what is to your taste, what you like, and pick on that. So certainly things have moved forward. I think we are in an era where things are getting better, and also the parents and children are working in cohesion, and they are coming to a state wherein they are deciding together, saying what is good for them and pursuing both together by just not letting one thing down.
Thanks, Srinath. We have a question from one of the viewers. Maybe Irfan can answer this. Maybe you because we know that cricket is a religion in India. But a viewer is asking, like, if they want to take up a sport like basketball and give up academics, so what do you suggest to them? Like, if they want to take up a sport like basketball, which is not so popular in India, unlike in the US, what do you suggest as a coach and mentor?
Well, I'm not so deep into basketball, but I love sport of any kind. I think, like I said, we have to find outlet to our passion. If we are good at anything, whatever we are good at, like yesterday, I remember saying, if my child is weak in math, good in sport, I would rather hire a sport tutor than a tuition master for math. So we need to give our children or whoever that we are dealing with, we need to give them that platform, whatever they wish to. Uh, Otherwise, we are pushing them into something which they don't like, and what are you going to get out of it? Supposing a child is hell bent on basketball, and then you're forcing that child to study. Do you think you're going to get the best result? This is something which we need to ponder. We need to find opportunities. People go on the line on the internet today. They go online. They find out what are the avenues available for any certain thing that they would wish to do. Likewise, the parents could try and find what they could do in basketball for their child, give the best opportunity, and maybe use that as a carrot and the stick. You do basket, if you study well, then I give you basketball. You try and get the best out of it. Then it's a win-win situation. The parent gets what they want. They want the child to study. You say, all right, if you do well in your studies, we'll try and do the best for you in basketball that you love. So both could be kept happy that way if the child falls in line. But there are children I know who are finding education very difficult. They have the learning disability. So how can you force a child into it without really understanding their mindset? It might not be that they don't want to study, but they're not able to study. They're not capable at all. It's like someone who cannot play at all. You're forcing him to play. You're not going to get a result. As a coach, no matter what we do, how much we try, we might not be able to make a person who's not good at it or who's not inclined towards it. How can I make him a cricketer? Likewise, education. We have to be very judicious. We have to try the best we can. We have to find ways of balancing it. Once again, I repeat the word balance. So to answer your question, if there's a child who's inclined in basketball and there aren't too many avenues, we need to make sure that, yes, my child has the second line, which is the education, which is the academics. We try and say, all right, we give you basketball that you love. If you can do the education well, this is the deal that the parents make. And it happens, very much happens almost on an everyday basis. It happens with in cricket. The child wants to be at cricket. The parents say, good. If you study well, if you finish your homework, if you've done all this, then we will let you go for cricket. So they all do it so very well and they do it so easily and it becomes a habit. So I think the same thing could perhaps be used in the case that you're mentioning to answer the query from one of the viewers.
Thanks, Irfan. Tanisha, I have a question for you. You have balanced very well both education as well as chess. What about your friends? Are they surprised when they see your results on the chessboard as well as academics? What is their reaction and their parents' reaction? Maybe you could tell us some examples where your friends are forced to give up their favorite sport because their parents didn't want to and ask them to concentrate on studies. Are there any instances which you can share with us?
I mean, my friends are like very surprised how I manage both, and their parents also always give them examples to be more like me, like to manage both. And I have, like, there are many examples of players who have left chess for studies, and at a very basic level, like they could have continued well both, but I mean, there are many players who leave playing at a very basic level, for studies because their parents.
What would you like to tell them? Like, don't give up and continue your passion. You must be saying that.
I mean, playing like chess cannot be a distraction. I mean, it gives so many advantages. Like for that matter, like our games go on for 4 to 5 hours, so we have the habit to sit at one place for a very long time. So while studying, as I see many of my friends, they cannot sit still, they cannot study straight for even an hour. So but I can do that for 4 to 5 hours for a longer duration. So uh, keep playing it. It can never be a hurdle. It will only benefit. It will only be useful in academics. Yeah.
Thanks, Tanisha. There's one more question from the viewer. This maybe Srinath can answer this, even though you're not associated with any sports association. Do you think sports associations and administrators are doing enough to convince the parents or their kids to take up sport, and are they doing enough? Is the question.
Well, on a large basis, I can.
And the authorities as well, like maybe the government or the state, are they doing enough? Do you feel?
Certainly not. It's in a very nascent stage, I would say. To start with, if you start from educational institutions, I think infrastructure is the key. And where I go to many schools, I find there's no playground, and there are hardly one or two disciplines where the kids are playing forced to play that particular sport. So it's very mandatory for the state governments to inculcate the sporting culture in schooling. It should be made a mandatory subject because there might be many kids who are not inclined towards sports. So kids who are willing to take up sports should be encouraged. So that is number one. And number two is, without a playground, I don't think a school exists. It should not. So the authorities should be vigilant enough to ensure there is a basic setup, there is a playground for children to come out, express themselves. Just running around trying to catch each other can be a stepping stone for somebody to become an athlete. So that's number one. And when they talk about are the authorities, the federations doing enough? I think, each federation or association, the other sporting bodies, they certainly should take a leaf out of the BCCI. It's just not about trying to fill in that coffer that is there. It's just not about the marketing ability. The sort of confidence they are instilling in the younger generation to take up sport. Because end of the day, driving your passion and to play for the country by spending from your own pocket is not going to do any good for you. Unless it's remunerative, the honor of representing the country is one. At the same time, you're remunerated well enough for that is the added cushion. So I hear many stories in many sports disciplines where, children are traveling with their parents, spending on their own for travel and accommodation, participate in an event and come back. So when is it that, they're going to be rewarded for what they have been doing? The medal or the cup at a very young age is good enough for the showcase. But once you are at the national level, beyond that, there is something that financially is going to make you stronger. So I think there is still a lot of work to be done, right from the governments with educational setups and moving forward with the federations, associations also. But it's in a very nascent stage, but I think it is progressing, because I would like to highlight it is one way the government, the central has taken initiative is through Khelo India, where we are seeing a lot of aspiring sportsmen coming in from the nook and corner of the country to take part. I think that's the way forward, and that's one big boost that has come the way of sports people.
Thanks, Srinath. Irfan, I wanted to ask you this question because you must have seen thousands of talented youngsters over a period of more than 2 decades. Could you tell us some stories, or maybe more than a couple of stories, where talented youngsters have been pulled out of your academy just because their parents were not liking, or they wanted their kids to focus on academics? Are there any instances where the talent has just lost out? Maybe they could have played for India or brought laurels to the country?
Yeah, there are lots and lots of cases of kids, who were highly talented. We had a kid 2 days back. There was one lad by name Adit Ajmera. We thought he was a big talent. He was doing so very well. But like I said, the 10th standard, and Srinath also endorsed it, that 10th standard is a big thing for the parents. So the child was stopped from playing in the 10th standard. And when he again tried to make an attempt to get back, he found that his peer group had moved on. So he got discouraged. What we thought was a big talent, just because of the 10th standard, we lost out. And then we had the case of a kid called Abhiram. Abhiram Vadlamani. He was such a brilliant talent. He could bat, he could bowl, he could field, he could think, he could speak cricket. But unfortunately, his parents, both parents were very well educated. So they thought their child should also be highly educated. So they would stop him from playing the league games. He was selected for the state under 19, but even for the state under 19 practice sessions, they used to have different thoughts. He's got his exam, he's got his tuition, he's got, this kind of hurdles. The state association does not like all this. You have to be committed. And there is so much competition in this world. So unfortunately, Abhiram Vadlamani, who we thought was a big, big, big talent, lost out. He had to step aside. And then now, of course, he's there in Australia. He's working. He's all right. But then he still loves the game. He plays some club cricket. But to me, it was, to be honest, to be very, very honest, it was a very big loss. And these are not isolated cases. Like you said, not one, but there are many, many stories where it's like, when a talented cricketer leaves or stops playing the sport, for whatever reason, it hurts the coach. Because it's not just, that we have an enrollment and we are happy about it. We have emotional attachment. We have our dreams because we live through them. We live through the success of the cricketers. Our success is based entirely on the success of the sports person. Someone who we think is going to make the big grade, we've got, aspirations through him or her. And then he or she stops at a certain stage. It thoroughly, destroys us. Believe me, it is a very, very emotional thing for us when someone, for whatever reason, most often it is education, but for whatever reason, if some good sports person comes to a certain level and then withdraws, it hurts. It really hurts badly. So we have experienced this multiple number of times.
And did you ever try like convincing the parents, or what was their reaction despite you trying to tell them that your lad is very talented, please stick with him or her? What was their reaction like?
Well, there have been, of course, dozens of instances where we have convinced them and, given them an assurance that we will monitor this and we will make sure that he attends school or college, or he attends his tuition classes, he'll do his exams. And each and every time we have come the toppers. We have succeeded in getting the child to stay focused on sport as well as education. And both of us have been happy, the parent as well as the academy. There's this clear case of McNeil recently. His mom is really keen that he studies well. She's not wrong. We cannot, find fault with her wishes. But he's such a fantastic cricketer. She's so worried about his schedules and whatnot. We have managed to convince, and so many times we have approached the college or the school management and sought permission for him to play and write the exams on another date. There have been times when I've gone, especially with women's cricket, where both the parent and the school were hesitant in allowing the girl to participate for the state. Not a club cricket, not some fun cricket, but for state representation, there would be hurdles. And I have stepped in, spoken to the parents, sought their permission, sought their blessings, allow it, getting them to agree to allow the child to play. And those children have gone on to play big cricket. Nushin Al-Khadir, I remember I had to speak Nushin Al-Khadir. I had to convince her dad that, she's so good, allow her to play. And then after 1 hour of convincing and chatting, he agreed. And then she went on to play for India. She got more than 100 wickets for India. And today she enjoys a cricketing job. She's doing very, very well for herself. Not only financially, but in a position, she's in a position of strength. And her team recently, in the recent women's IPL, her team Supernova, they won, and she was the coach of the team. So there have been dozens of instances where we've convinced, and that gives us a lot of happiness. And that kind of happiness money cannot buy. That is something joy. Yes, this was the case, and I convinced, and it happened. And we are so happy and so proud about it. And all of us have benefited. We have benefited emotionally, whereas the cricketer, boy or girl, whoever, they've benefited in every which way. They are very well positioned now. So I think, yeah, this is the reality. Sometimes we lose a cricketer because of this, or sometimes we have succeeded in convincing, in getting back the cricketer. And because we have made some kind of a commitment, we also work extra hard on the child, both in education, focusing on education and in sport. And it has paid very, very rich dividends by way of the athlete's success.
Thanks, Irfan. I have one more question from my viewer. This for Srinath. You mentioned about change now. Times have changed, and there's a lot of technology which has come in. Do you think that has the mindset changed? Because with the technology, has the mindset also changed for the parents while choosing sports or academics? Has it changed? I don't think it has changed, made much difference. Do you agree, or has it changed?
Well, it's a very minimal percentage I can look at. The numbers are pretty frugal, but yeah, I mean, people are working towards it. As I said today, information is available on the net. People are aware of what is happening throughout the world. It's just not confined to what is happening within Bangalore or Chennai or Mumbai. We are able to find out what is happening either in Canada or even in Antarctica. There is information coming in, and people are able to get to know what is happening pan world. But yes, again, going back to the basic question of culture of sport. So believing, saying that I don't blame a parent saying, how can I push somebody saying neglect studies and become a professional sports person? It's not on. It's still in a very, very, very nascent stage in our country. We still have a long way to go as far as that thought process has to come. But yes, with the advent of technology, with the know-how, so many things doing the round, I think the parents are on a better wicket today, at least to try and understand where they can move forward today. It was only word of mouth maybe 2 decades ago. But today there is everything available on social media platform for you, information available on portals saying that what each organization or institution is up to. So doing background verification and trying to find out from people who've been part of it can certainly help them better their decision-making process. So I would still not say it's grown multifold, but certainly there is progress on that count.
There's one more question for Tanisha. So Srinath mentioned that there should not be any school which doesn't have a ground. And based on that, do you think did you take up chess, the indoor sport, because there were lack of facilities for outdoor sport, or for chess was your first love? They want to know.
Okay, honestly, I took it up when I was very young. So I used to play a lot. I used to play some outdoor sports as well, not seriously, but I took chess as my brother used to play at home only. So I took up seeing him, and when I went to the first tournament, we went there very casually. I was the youngest participant, but I came second. It was a knockout event, so that's how it started. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree that there should be a lot of facilities available. There should be, as sir said, yeah, I totally agree with him.
Yeah, there's one more question. Irfan, maybe you can take this. We have in school, there's a concept called extracurricular activity. Should that word be dropped and maybe made it sports activity, or just sports, included in the curriculum or syllabus?
I think Rose will smell the same by any name. It's not about the name. It's about the passion. It's about the values of it and how we project it, how we accept it. That is what matters. Whether you call it extracurricular or intracurricular activity doesn't really matter. It's about, it's all a school. It's just, not just what you learn in the four walls. There's so much in this world to learn. So that's what I said when I started this interaction. I said, it's not about schooling, but it's about educating. There's so much to learn. Every day of a life, we keep learning. Now, the sport could also be an education in itself because it teaches you a way of life. Cricket being a team game, it teaches you to play a role. It teaches you to live with others, to adjust to the others, to rise to the occasion, to do so many things. Now, cricket is just not a game, it's a way of life. Likewise, any other maybe team game or individual game, you take responsibility. These are the things that you learn. And that is the true education. To answer your question, whether, to call it extracurricular activity or sports, whatever, it doesn't matter how you call it, as long as the essence of it is thoroughly followed.
Thanks, Irfan. Tanisha, one more question. You intend to become a professional chess player, and how does it depend, like becoming a full-time chess player and depending on that sport for your livelihood? You're not bothered, or it's just a passion, or you are confident that you can make a livelihood out of your sport going forward?
Okay, honestly, right now, that I've passed my 10th, for the next 2 years, I am planning to completely focus on chess. And I plan to make some norms and get some titles. It is definitely hard. There is a lot of competition, but yeah, I mean, right now I'm just focusing on playing, improving my strength and giving my best. Yeah.
But your dream, your ambition is to become a full-time professional chess player, right?
Yeah, of course, but but I also plan to complete my studies.
Yeah, because in your opening comments you said education is priority, and you have been doing well so far, and in future also you must be confident of doing well the way you have progressed so far, balancing both education as well as chess. Yeah. One more question. Srinath, maybe you can take this. The money spent you mentioned about Khelo India Games, the recent concept. When we look at the money spent by government or any private institution for sports, especially, and the amount of equipment you have to buy for any sport for that matter, it's very expensive. But do you think it will change in future? Like they will they'll have more funds for equipment, maybe to produce an athlete, outdoor athlete, or maybe in track and field or somewhere else, so that India can win more gold medals in Olympics. Do you think that will happen?
Certainly, yes. Now, the classic example is that of Neeraj Chopra. I don't think many people even knew what was javelin. Post his medal victory in Tokyo, I can see many kids on the streets picking up small sticks and trying to throw it and say that, I'm practicing javelin. So it's as simple as that. As I said, you need sporting icons, achievers. So why did people throng to chessboards? When Vishy Anand became a, world chess champion, even I started, practicing, saying, how do I put the pawns on a chessboard? It just fascinated me because he was an achiever. See, it really gave me goosebumps when Tanisha spoke about how she's managing whole things. I think these are all small examples. But the only thing is, it cannot be comparisons. There can be role models, there can be icons. But you can't produce a second Vishy. You can't produce a second Neeraj Chopra. But they should be there always on track to be emulated. Coming back to, saying that will we get, of course, sponsorships are going to pour in. We've had a lot of corporates who have come and supported, a lot of these sportsmen for a cause. It could be the case of Vinesh Phogat, who did well in wrestling. A lot of money came in through the government as well as financial support through the corporates. I always thought that, CSR has been an initiative by corporates towards a lot of, good causes. But maybe they could expand that budget and say, yes, let's try and, pump in more to support a track and field event or other athletic sports. Because an organization like the BCCI is a corporate body. They don't need funding from others. So could be, the other federations or association could draw, blood from them, say, have a chat with corporate bodies and tell them, why don't they, draw mileage out of it by, trying to get in sponsorships for young athletes or people who've been doing well at the national level and representing India at the national level. Because what is happening is all the funding that is coming through to all these sporting federations are through the central government. So it's going to be frugal. Obviously, you can't find high quality coaching or equipment coming to them, because from what I read and get to know from people who are getting trained by coaches from foreign, they pay a hell of a lot of money for these foreign coaches. The diet becomes an issue. Because say, for example, tomorrow if Tanisha has to go to travel to Spain and get coached by a Spaniard there, she has to spend a hell of a lot of money from her pocket. So there is a corporate body which can initiate through their CSR and say, yes, we want to adopt her as a girl under scholarship and say we are behind her for the next 5 years. I think this is there in the pipeline, and this is only going to get better and bigger in the days to come by. It's not going to dwindle by any stretch of imagination, because in the recent past, in the last about 5 to 10 years, we've seen some achievers in various other fraternities also. It could be boxing, it could be wrestling, it could be hockey, it could be chess, it could be, javelin. We've seen some great sporting icons that are coming across. I think this is just a beginning, and it's only going to get bigger in the days to come by.
Okay, thanks, Srinath. This question is to Tanisha. You mentioned that education as academics has made you disciplined or something, disciplined, and you mentioned examples of your friend. They can't sit for half an hour or 1 hour concentrate. Do you think as a chess player, academics plays a very important role? Because chess, when you talk about chess, it has to be like you have to be an intellect or to use the play well. Is it the case? Academics does play a part.
Honestly, like these are two different things. So if you see many chess players, they are not, even though they're very strong players, they are not that good in academics. So while playing chess, it is more about your imagination, your creativity, your focus, your passion as well. So I think they do not have like a direct connection. Like you might be very good at academics, but you cannot be a great chess player, or other way around. But yeah, I mean, chess does help a lot in academics, that is for sure.
The same question I want to ask Srinath. You have been a top class umpire. How does academics or education help you to make those, like maybe split second decision? Because umpires are under scrutiny all the time, because you get one decision wrong and the whole world pounces on you. So how does that help, like to make those split second decision? Does it really help, or it doesn't matter? Like,
well, to an extent it does, because the basic foundation, basic education helps you to understand the governing laws and playing conditions of the game. You need to have the basic education for you to understand what is going on, because cricket is a very, very elaborate sport wherein it is governed by 43 laws, and there are hell a lot of playing conditions that have different ones for longer format, the 50 over and T20. Yes, you need to be basically educated to try and get to understand that. Otherwise, you're just not going to get to the next level to qualify as an umpire. Yes, when you've understood that, how much will it help you in decision making is something that is debatable. Yes, because you can be a TV umpire, because you go to school, you go to college, you learn how to communicate. Today, communication is the key in any walk of life. You have to be a good communicator. You can manipulate even if you don't know a particular subject through the way you can talk through the particular subject. So that can be helpful to you. Being a TV umpire, you need to make decisions by communicating with the director, yes, simultaneously knowing what is the background of the law and playing condition. But it could be a situation of 90-10. So 10%, the educational part of it is very, very important to be there. But I don't think it's going to make a huge difference in your decision making at that point in time. It's all about, as Tanisha was mentioning, about the mental strength, the ability to focus, not to be pressurized, to stay in a good frame of mind to make those decisions. That's how it would be working. But yes, I would endorse the basic form of education is certainly a requirement to be anything in sport.
I want to ask the same, Irfan. When you play a sport, they say that it's played between the ears. It's all here in the mind. You have to be mentally tough. So, in by that logic, do you think well, as Srinath mentioned, basic education is necessary to be mentally tough and succeed as a top sports person?
Yeah,
Is it a necessity?
Srinath is not wrong in saying that, but then we have seen so many of them. Uh, a little while ago, I said most of the cricketers are highly educated, but right now I'm quite contradicting myself and saying, rather adding on to that and saying, there have been a lot of them who are uneducated. They have played some brilliant. I wouldn't like to name those names because I don't want to be picked on them. There are a lot of them who are uneducated. They are but they are highly street smart. They know how to go about. I know people who are not much educated, but they're very good chess players. They play a game, and some of them who play the gully cricket, they play so smartly. They're so quick in the decision making. It's something that you pick up on field in life. These are hands-on skills that people develop. So education, yes, like Srinath said, and I've always said that yes, education complements and adds on and helps you build. It might give you a better platform, but it is not something which is mandatory. You cannot say that if you're not educated, you cannot play. Yes, you can.
Sorry to interrupt because I asked this because I read somewhere because the great Irapalli Prasanna saying that engineering made him a better bowler, that it helped him because the aerodynamics, the flight, the way he bowled his off spin. Somewhere I read that it helped him
So that's true.
greatly.
Quite true. Like I said, yes, it helps you to reach a higher status, or understand the game a lot better, execute a lot better, explain yourselves a lot better. If you're a coach, yes, if you're educated, it helps a lot. But I would like to emphasize that it is not a must. It's like you don't have to be a sportsman to be a graduate. Likewise, you don't have to be a graduate to be a sportsman. But yes, if you're educated and you're approaching any sport with a educated view, I think you understand a lot better. Like Erapalli Prasanna said, he could understand. I remember they said Richard Headley understood the aerodynamics of the cricket ball so much better because he himself was a teacher. He did a lot of study and he understood. So likewise, there are so many who've been highly educated. They've been able to analyze a lot better. But there are certain others who may not be very educated, but they have understood so many things of life without actually being educated or whatever.
And Srinath made a very good point that the way of you should have good communication skills, like as an umpire or maybe as a player also. Communication is very important, isn't it, Irfan?
100%, because see, today communication is a big tool in the day-to-day life. It is a ladder which helps you reach greater heights, no doubt about it. A miscommunication or something that you say wrongly, you might mean right, but you say wrongly, could bring a downfall. So communication, like Srinath said, and I fully endorse, yes, it is the need of the hour. It is something which everyone should learn. That's why we say it is not just the schooling that teaches, but there's so many other things. The sport, the environment, the society that we live in is all a big large education center. We need to keep learning from everything around us, and sport could be one of them.
Thanks, Irfan. Before we wrap up, a quick closing comments, starting with Tanisha. Your closing comments on this subject, Tanisha.
Yeah, so I think as we discussed through so many dimensions of this topic, I think when balanced rightly, both can be done really well. They both go well hand in hand. Passion, you need to have the determination to balance well in both, uh, to do well in both. But yeah, I mean, they can they can be done really well. Yeah. Thank you.
Srinath, your closing remarks.
Well, very interesting discussions, and really I got to know a lot from a very young girl, because I always was under the impression that people who are very strong in academics could only become good chess players. I think that was an eye opener today, and really that opened up my eyes. Well, I always believe for a rounded personality, you require sport as well as academics. Both of them don't run parallelly. It is hand in glove. And the right word, as Tanisha said, it's about striking the right balance, and your unflinching commitment when you are at one particular juncture. It could be sport, you're thinking only about sport. When you are, making a move or trying to hit a ball, you're not thinking about what's going to happen in tomorrow's examination. When you're out on the field or on the board or inside the arena, you are just thinking about what is there in front of you, your opponent, or it could be the ball, it could be the goal, whatever. When you shut shop there, you switch off, you get back home, you're up for an exam tomorrow. It's just only about your study, your book. So I think it complements your study as well as sport. And also the most important thing is the parental backup. There cannot be just a broad comparison saying, what is my neighbor doing, or what is my cousin doing, or what is my sister doing. Each one of them has got immense talent in himself or herself. They can do wonders in whatever they want to, but this mashing up of comparisons can never happen in any walk of life. It can be corporate world, it can be sport, it can be studies. There should not be like-to-like comparisons. Each individual is made different. There are no clones in this world. I cannot try to become like Tanisha, nor Tanisha can try to become like me. I can only look upon herself as my idol and try to become like her. I just cannot be a shadow of her. As simple as that. So my closing comment is, there has to be a balance struck. Studies and sport have to go hand in glove.
Over to you, Irfan.
Well, I must say, recently we advertised that we have started open schooling. We have impressed upon people that yes, you can spend the whole day playing cricket and then get back to study in the evening, and we are facilitating that. Now, this is a case of a sporting academy advertising education. And I have dozens of schools advertising that we have a great cricket facility. Please join our school. So it is, it's a good thing that education is accepting sport, and sport is giving credit to education. So we can live together, like Tanisha and Srinath have just said. We need to have a proper balance of it. One without the other may not be the best option. Yes, there have been great sports people without education, and there have been wonderful, wonderful sportsmen who have done both education as well as sport. So there are great examples all around. If you look around, there is so much for everyone. We need to keep encouraging everyone and making them believe that, yes, both are possible at the same time. I've got hundreds and thousands of examples of brilliant cricketers who spent a lot of time on the field. They've gone back and brought back some fantastic marks. Eventually, by virtue of being well-rounded personalities, open to team events, team activity, learning to support each other, learning to play their roles in their whatever field they are doing so very well in their corporate life as well. So sport and education, it's not sport or education, it is sport and education. This can definitely go together, and it is just this that we need to avoid the other distractions. There are so many nefarious activities these days, which can take the child's mind away. Those distractions have to be stopped. Parents, teachers, coaches, all of us should spend a lot of time making sure the child's attention is not diverted. We need to channelize. The sport should be used to burn energies, the free energy that is available, so that they don't have enough spare time to do something which might not be very healthy. So if I can keep the child away from all these nefarious activities, give them a healthy occupation, make sure that they are academically balanced as well, I think it'll be a happier world.
What message would you like to give to the parents as a coach?
As a cricket coach, I would like to say, yes, sport is a wonderful thing. You must indulge in some sport. Of course, cricket would be my advice, but then any sport for that matter, because today health is an important factor. You cannot say that you're healthy by not being active or not being athletic today. Everyone is hitting the gym. Why are they doing that? What are they achieving from that? So these are the things that we need to understand, that yes, sport is a necessity. It's not an option. It is something which is a compulsion today. Whatever sport you are in, be in a sport, indulge in sport, learn how to be on the field, run, do whatever you have to be energetic, to be athletic, and to be active in life and to be healthy. And that's, I think, the best advice.
Thanks. What we gathered from this discussion is that there's not that sports or academics is not that. It's both should go hand in hand. That's what all the panelists have opined. And in a message to all the parents who are seeing this, they would like to tell that put your children into any sport and let them also concentrate on academics. There should be a balance between the two, not one of them. It should be both with a balance. First of all, I would like to thank all the panelists, starting with Tanisha. Thank you, Tanisha, for joining from Maldives. You are playing there, but hopefully you win the tournament and come back with more laurels for India. Our best wishes, Tanisha. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a great. It was a great honor for me to be in this discussion. I got to learn so many things. Thank you, Srinath sir, Irfan sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
It was a
Tanisha.
great honor for me.
Srinath, I thank you immensely for taking time out and sharing your views. Thanks again, Srinath.
Pleasure, Pramaya. We've known each other for a long time. I would just take this opportunity, both you also, Irfan, but I would take this opportunity to wish Tanisha the very best in the future. And certainly from now on, I would be following her progress very closely. And it's been a fascinating story. And in fact, I have picked up a lot of things about, when I meet somebody else who wants to be a chess wizard, I can always quote this and tell them that, we've got a girl who's a benchmark for future chess prodigies. Thank you all, and wishing you the very best in this tournament and in the future also, Tanisha. All the best. Go well.
Thank you so much.
Irfan, coming to you, we also known each other for a very long time. I appreciate the way you coach and mentor people. I wish you all the best for your future endeavors. Thanks for joining us, Irfan, and sharing your views.
Thank you, Pramaya. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And of course, I've been a big follower of Srinath, and I've always admired him for all that he has done, both as a cricketer as well as an umpire and a coach, and whatever he's doing in cricket. He's such a sociable person. I mean, I've really enjoyed every time we meet. It's on a very, very happy note. And Tanisha, it's so good to see you today. And I wish you the very, very best. Hopefully, you'll do very well. And from what I hear from you, you have the substance in you, and you will go a long way. And to all those viewers who've been watching, I hope you get a little bit of input from us, which could be useful in life. And please encourage your child to play. Do not restrict them from playing. I think this is my ardent plea. There are so many instances where the sport has overtaken education, and both have complemented each other. So let's try and create a world. See, we at our academy, we keep telling everyone to study. Likewise, the schools could say play. What a wonderful life, or what a wonderful world it could be. We could support each other. The education could support the sport, and the sport supports the education, and it could be a wonderful and a happy world.
Nicely put, Irfan. Thanks again, everybody. Thank you.